The silver tray hit the marble floor just as CEO Adrian Vale ordered security to remove the waitress from his private charity dinner. Cameras turned. Guests stared. She did not beg. She only picked up the worn name badge he had knocked loose and said, "Before you throw me out, read it." Why did that ordinary surname drain the color from a billionaire's face? Why did a man famous for remembering every contract suddenly forget how to speak? And what secret had his own company buried for 22 years? Stay until the end, because the name Adrian tried to ignore would force him to choose between protecting his empire and facing the woman whose family had paid for it. The silver tray struck the marble, and every conversation in the Alderhouse ballroom stopped. Claire Mercer stood near the stage with both hands visible while two security officers approached her. "Remove her," Adrian Vale said. Adrian Vale, 47, stood at the lectern with one finger pressed hard against its edge. Marissa Cole, the 42-year-old events director, raised an empty leather sleeve. The confidential envelope was in the executive study 10 minutes ago. She was seen outside that door. "I was carrying coffee to table 12, Claire said. "You were told the west corridor was restricted. The kitchen printer sent me there. Temporary staff do not question procedure." Graham Pike stepped beside Adrian. Silver-haired and smiling, he adjusted one cufflink. "Let security handle it." An officer reached for Claire's elbow. She moved back half a step. "Please don't touch me." "Ms. Cole?" Adrian asked. She refused a bag inspection. "That isn't true," Claire said. "You emptied my bag in a storage room. 3 people watched." A waiter lowered his eyes. Graham's smile thinned. Now she is making accusations. "I'm correcting one." The ventilation hummed. Scorched coffee cut through perfume and wax. Stage heat touched one cheek. The other felt cold. Adrian stepped down. "Where's the envelope?" "I don't have it." "Did you enter the study?" "No." "Did anyone give you anything tonight?" Claire waited. Graham noticed. "There, you see?" Claire looked only at Adrian. "Someone gave me something that belonged to my family." "Search her apron," Marissa said. The second officer reached toward Claire's waist. She caught the fabric in her fist. "Don't." Adrian's jaw hardened. "You are at a private event with missing corporate material. Cooperate." Claire released the apron slowly. "You decided what I was before you asked my name. That has nothing to do with this." "Then read it." An officer touched her shoulder. Her badge caught on his sleeve and tore free. It hit the floor, bounced, then spun across the marble. The oval turned beneath the chandelier, ticking faintly as it slowed. No one spoke. Claire watched it circle between Adrian's polished shoes. He looked down. Claire Mercer. His mouth loosened. His shoulders locked. "Mercer?" he said. Claire bent, but Adrian picked up the badge first. Behind him, Graham's fingers stopped on his cufflink. Adrian read it again. "Who was your father?" Graham moved between them. "Adrian, this is irrelevant. Security should proceed." Claire kept her eyes on the badge. "You already know who he was." Graham turned toward the guests. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are pausing for a minor personnel matter." "No," Adrian said. Graham maintained his smile. "Adrian?" "I said no." He looked at the officers. "Take your hands off her." They stepped back. Marissa's face drained. "The envelope is still missing." Adrian closed his fist around the badge. "Lock the west corridor. No one leaves with a document or bag unchecked." A murmur moved through the ballroom. Graham's smile finally broke. From inside his jacket came the soft, unmistakable crackle of old paper. At 5:12 p.m., 7 hours before the ballroom went silent, Claire Mercer stepped off the bus beneath cold November rain. The Alderhouse awning glowed against the gray street. She wiped her shoes, folded her damp coat, and checked the cracked phone in her palm. 23 minutes early. Inside the staff entrance, steam rolled from the kitchen with the smell of onions, coffee, and lemon cleaner. "Temporary banquet?" asked a broad-shouldered man arranging trays. "Yes. Claire." "Luis Ortega." He was 55, with a salt and pepper mustache and a habit of turning every cup handle toward the next hand. "Locker 12. Don't leave anything valuable." Claire touched the worn leather folder inside her tote. "I won't." In the changing room, she opened it anyway. Her father's letter lay beneath a red notice stamped "Final Rent Demand." "Claire, if they ever tell you I left because I was ashamed, don't believe them." Her phone vibrated. Noah's name filled the screen. "You're inside?" he asked. "Just changed. You can still come home. And tell the landlord what? That we need a week. We already asked for 2. A locker slammed nearby. Claire lowered her voice. "Ruth said the records will be here tonight. 1 original signature. That's all I need." "You think they kept proof after 22 years? I think powerful people get careless. That isn't a reason to walk into their building. It's a catering shift. Claire." She fastened the folder's broken clasp with a black hair tie. "After tonight, Dad's name may stop being a rumor." The line stayed open long enough for her to hear a bus hiss outside his apartment. "Promise me you won't confront anyone." "I promise I'll come home." "That's not what I asked." "No, it's what I can promise." At 5:40, Marissa Cole entered the service hall in a black suit. 42 and unsmiling, she held a clipboard against her ribs. 300 guests, she said. Donors, trustees, press. They are paying for an evening without friction. A young server raised her hand. "What about breaks?" "When your captain releases you." Luis's jaw shifted. "No personal conversations with guests," Marissa continued. "No photographs. No questions about displays or executives. You are not part of the event." Her eyes stopped on Claire's shoes. "The best service is invisible." Claire tied her apron. "Understood." Marissa moved closer. Her perfume smelled of cedar. "Temporary workers sometimes confuse proximity with access." Luis set down a tray, too hard. Silver rang against steel. Marissa turned. "Something to add?" "No, ma'am." "Good." When she left, Luis handed Claire a polishing cloth. "She says invisible. What she means is disposable. I only need 1 shift. That's what everyone says before the building asks for more." At 6:03, Claire carried glassware toward the ballroom. Through a half-open door, she saw a corporate history display under white lights. Founder photographs, old prototypes, engraved names. 1 brass plate caught the light, but a technician stepped in front of it. Her phone vibrated. She balanced the tray against her hip and glanced down. "Don't risk yourself for Dad." The message remained unread for 1 second, then the screen went black in her hand. From the far corridor, Marissa called, "Mercer, why have you stopped?" Claire slipped the phone into her pocket and raised the tray. "I haven't." As she walked toward the ballroom, the folder hidden behind her coat pressed against the locker door like a second heartbeat. At 6:18 p.m., Claire checked the seating chart beneath her tray. Graham Pike sat at table 1, not with the largest donors, but in the chair closest to the west corridor. Beyond it stood the executive study, its oak door marked "Private." Luis passed with folded napkins. "You're counting chairs twice. I'm checking sightlines. That sounds above our pay grade." Claire showed him the chart. "Why seat the chairman beside a service corridor?" Luis glanced toward Graham. so no one else can use it. Across the ballroom, Graham watched a technician adjust the history wall. He wore silver cufflinks, touching the right one whenever anyone came near. The largest photograph showed 3 men in a garage beneath the date, May 2003. Adrian stood at the center. Graham was near the door. Her father had been on the left. Now a gold plaque covered that part of the caption. Founding team, Adrian Vale and Graham Pike. Claire set down the tray. The glass felt cold under her fingertips. She traced the plaque's edge and found older letters trapped beneath it. Samuel Mercer. Staff shouldn't touch the exhibits. Claire turned. Ethan Brooks, 28, wore a navy suit and executive badge. One nervous curl had escaped his careful hair. He held 2 unanswered phones. The caption is wrong, Claire said. It was approved. That doesn't make it true. Adrian Vale entered with Marissa while she read from a tablet. Press line at 7:10, Marissa said. Remarks at 8. Graham wants the archive sealed. Mr. Vale, there's an error on the founder's display. Adrian glanced at her uniform. Handle it. I'm trying to tell you. Sir, Ethan said. Graham emerged from the west corridor. His eyes moved from Claire's hand near the plaque to Ethan's face. Ethan swallowed the sentence. Marissa pointed toward the service doors. Mercer, your station is table 12. Claire faced Adrian again. Samuel Mercer's name is under that plate. Adrian was already walking. We open in 40 minutes. Claire lifted the plaque enough for the old engraved M to catch the white light. You saw it, she said. He stacked one phone over the other. I saw a maintenance issue. No, you saw a name. Graham stopped 3 yards away and adjusted his cufflink. Ethan's shoulders tightened. Put it back. Claire lowered the plaque. Was it changed for tonight? I don't know. You work for him. That doesn't mean I know everything. It means you know who decides what he sees. A bell chimed as guests arrived, carrying rain and laughter. Graham approached. Is there a problem? Ethan answered too quickly. No, sir. Claire lifted her tray. Graham looked at her badge, but not long enough to read it. Good staff understand that history belongs to the institution. My father said records belong to whoever survives them. For the first time, Graham's fingers missed his cufflink. Marissa called Claire across the room. She walked toward table 12. At the service doors, Ethan spoke behind her, barely louder than the clink of glassware. The study lock was changed yesterday. Claire stopped. When she turned, Ethan was beside Adrian, smiling for the cameras, while Graham stood with one hand over the key in his pocket. At 6:47 p.m., Claire carried champagne past table 6 when a silver-haired woman rose too quickly and struck a chair. The glasses trembled. Easy, Claire said. The woman was 71 and slight, with a loose pearl button at her collar. Claire Mercer? Who's asking? Ruth Delaney. I was Samuel's secretary before anyone called it Vale Bridge. Across the room, a string quartet held one note until it became painful. Ruth glanced toward the west corridor. Not here. Claire set down the tray and followed her behind a velvet curtain near the coat room. The air smelled of wet wool and dust. Beyond the fabric, guests laughed as candles were lit. Ruth opened her handbag. You look like him around the eyes. My father said you stopped answering. I was told he withdrew his claim. He never did. I know that now. Ruth removed a yellowed envelope sealed with dark red wax. No address, only the initials SM in faded ink. This was in Martin Keene's effects, she said. He was counsel before Graham. His daughter found it after he died. What's inside? A copy of the equity agreement, Samuel's percentage, vesting terms. Adrian's witness signature. Claire did not reach for it. Why tonight? Tomorrow the archive goes to a private records firm, and Graham asked whether Martin left papers. The quartet stopped. For one breath, the coat room felt sealed. Did you open it? No. Then how do you know? I typed the agreement. Ruth placed the envelope in Claire's palm. Her fingers trembled, then covered Claire's hand for 1 second. I should have spoken 22 years ago. You're speaking now. A shoe clicked behind the curtain. Marissa stepped through, tablet against her ribs. Her eyes moved from Ruth to the envelope. What is that? Private correspondence, Claire said. Staff may not accept gifts. It isn't a gift. Then hand it over. Ruth straightened. It belongs to the Mercer family. Mrs. Delaney, please return to the ballroom. I know why I'm here. Claire. Marissa extended her hand. The envelope. Claire slid it inside her apron behind the order pad. It does not belong to the hotel. You are on hotel property. That does not make every guest's belongings yours. Marissa lowered her hand. Temporary staff can be dismissed without review. I know. And searched if company material is missing. Ruth stepped between them. Nothing is missing. You cannot know that. Ruth gave a small smile. I kept the inventory for 19 years. Applause rose as Adrian entered the ballroom. It faded through the curtain. Marissa touched her earpiece. Security to West Service Corridor. Claire measured the distance to the kitchen door. 20 feet. 1 camera above it. Graham stood beyond the curtain, speaking to Adrian. Ruth slipped a brass key onto the service stand and covered it with a napkin. Old archive cabinet, she whispered. Bottom drawer. Marissa caught only the last words. What did she say? Claire lifted the champagne tray. She asked where to leave her coat. Then she stepped into the ballroom, the envelope against her waist, and the key hidden beneath untouched glasses. Storage room. Now. Marissa did not raise her voice. Claire followed her past the kitchen's hissing dishwashers and the smell of scorched sugar. Luis stood by the service elevator. When he saw Marissa gripping Claire's elbow, one glass struck another with a thin chime. The room was windowless and cold. Marissa shut the door, turned the lock, and placed Claire's tote on a metal shelf. A guest access card is missing. I've never had one. You were near the West Corridor. So were half the staff. Marissa unzipped the bag. Claire leaned back. The shelf's metal edge pressed through her uniform into her spine. You need my permission. I need to protect 300 guests. You need a witness. Marissa opened the door to call Luis inside. He was in the kitchen, she said. That is sufficient. Luis glanced at Claire. I can get the banquet captain. No, you can stand there. Marissa removed Claire's wallet, keys, bus schedule, pain reliever, and the red rent notice. She unfolded the notice and read the first line. That isn't relevant, Claire said. Anything concealed may be relevant. It was folded. Marissa laid it beside the wallet. Past due rent establishes motive. For stealing a guest card? For gaining access? Luis shifted. His rubber sole squeaked on the tile. This isn't right. Marissa turned. You're scheduled 34 hours this week, Mr. Ortega. Full-time eligibility begins at 35. His mouth tightened. My wife's coverage depends on accurate staffing records. The compressor kicked on behind the wall. Luis lowered his eyes. Marissa reached for the folder under Claire's apron. No. Claire caught it against her chest. Hand it over. You searched my bag. The card isn't there. I have not finished. This contains family papers. Then you have nothing to fear. Claire opened the folder herself. On top lay a photograph of Samuel Mercer beside a younger Adrian Vale. Beneath it was his final letter, white along every fold. Marissa reached for the photograph. Claire pulled it back. "You may look. You may not take it. Material connected to tonight's exhibit can be retained. My father is not hotel property." Luis lifted his head. Marissa's gaze sharpened. "Your father?" Claire slid the photograph behind the letter. "You read my rent notice without permission. You don't get his name, too." Marissa pinched the copied letter by one corner. Claire covered it with her hand. Neither moved. Cold from the shelf spread across Claire's back. Outside, a cart rattled past. Luis finally said, "The card isn't here." Marissa kept her eyes on Claire. "You will return to service under observation. Leave the bag." "No." That was not a request. Claire gathered the wallet, keys, notice, photograph, and letter. She put them away slowly. "You can fire me," Claire said. "You cannot confiscate my family." Marissa unlocked the door. "Then don't give me a reason to call security." Luis waited until she left. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Claire fastened the folder's broken clasp. "Next time, say it before the door opens." She stepped into the corridor and checked her apron pocket. The envelope was gone. At 7:26, Claire stepped back into the ballroom and slid 2 fingers into her apron pocket. Empty. She checked the second pocket, then the narrow fold behind her order pad. The brass key was still there. The envelope was not. Luis appeared with a coffee urn. "What is it?" "Someone took it." "From the storage room?" "Or before?" Across the ballroom, Marissa was already moving toward them. "Mercer," she said, "why were you seen near the executive study?" "I wasn't." "You approached the west corridor twice. To serve table 1. You were warned." Claire looked past her. Graham Pike stood beside Adrian, speaking to a donor with one hand resting over his cufflink. Near the curtain, a tall man in a charcoal suit held the missing envelope against his thigh. "Who is that?" Claire asked. Marissa did not turn. "Answer my question." The man was 39, clean-shaven, with a square jaw and a security earpiece. Victor Hale, Graham's executive aide, according to the name stitched inside the portfolio he carried. He crossed to a guard and slipped the envelope beneath a black incident folder. "Tessa," Luis murmured. A catering intern paused beside the coffee station. Tessa Lynn was 20, slight, with a braid pinned under her cap and flour still dusting one sleeve. "Refill table 9, Marissa ordered. Tessa lifted the urn. Her other hand disappeared below the service cloth. Claire took one step toward Victor. Marissa blocked her. "Do not make this worse." "You have my property." Graham turned at last. His smile arrived before he did. "Ms. Cole, is this the applicant you mentioned?" "I'm not an applicant," Claire said. Graham glanced toward donors gathering around them. "Of course. My mistake." "You know my name." "I know that you contacted our offices repeatedly seeking access to private records. My family asked for records that belong to us." A few guests lowered their glasses. Graham's voice stayed gentle. "This woman is an unstable applicant who has confused persistence with entitlement. Please continue enjoying the evening." Claire felt bodies shifting closer, not to help, but to hear. "Then open the envelope," she said. Victor's hand tightened on the folder. Graham looked at him for less than a second. "What envelope?" "The one your aide just gave security." Marissa exhaled through her nose. "She has been inventing accusations since arrival." Luis stepped forward. "I saw." Marissa turned to him. He stopped. Tessa set the coffee urn down. The red recording dot on her phone reflected in the curved glass, steady beneath the chandeliers. Victor noticed the movement. No phones in service. Tessa folded a napkin over the screen. Timer. Show me. Coffee burns if it sits. For the first time, Graham's smile vanished. Claire looked at the guard. Please check beneath the incident folder. The guard hesitated. Adrian approached from the stage. What is going on? Graham answered without looking away from Claire. A disturbed temporary worker is disrupting the event. Claire said, ask him what he's holding. Victor moved the folder behind his back. Tessa angled the coffee pot just enough for the glass to catch his reflection. On her hidden screen, the red dot kept glowing. At 8:04 p.m., the charity check was lifted under white camera flashes. Adrian stood center stage beside the hospital director, while Graham held the oversized check at one corner. Applause rolled through the ballroom. Claire remained near table 12 with a tray balanced high. Then Graham stepped toward the microphone. Before we continue, I regret that a confidential financial access card has been removed from the executive study. The applause collapsed. Marissa pointed toward Claire. Victor moved beside the nearest security officer. Adrian turned from the cameras. Now? It cannot wait, Graham said. Victor lifted his hand. I saw her outside the study. Claire lowered the tray to the service stand. You saw me carrying coffee. You entered the restricted corridor. I did not enter the room. Marissa spoke over her. She was also found with company archive material. That envelope belonged to my family. A donor raised his phone, then another. Screens appeared across the room. Adrian descended from the stage. Where's the card? I have never seen it. Were you near the study? I was assigned to table 1, beside the corridor. That is not an answer. It is the exact answer. Graham touched Adrian's sleeve. We have press in the room. Claire saw the decision form before he spoke. Not from evidence, from the cameras. Security, Adrian said. Remove her from the ballroom. Mr. Vale, your chairman's aide took an envelope from me. Victor gave a short laugh. She's changing the subject. I can show you where he passed it to security. Enough, Adrian said. Claire's fingers tightened around the stem of a full wine glass left on the stand. Red liquid trembled against the rim. Phones tilted closer. She placed the glass carefully on the tray. Not a drop spilled. Across the aisle, a girl of 16 stood beside the donor table, dark hair behind one ear, her phone held horizontally. Sophie Vale wore the same gray eyes as her father, but hers moved from Claire's steady hand to the officers closing in. Sophie lowered the phone. Dad, she said. Adrian did not hear her. An officer reached for Claire's arm. Ma'am, come with us. I will walk. Then move. Louise stood by the kitchen doors, holding a folded towel. Tessa stayed behind the coffee station, her hidden recording still running. Neither stepped forward. Claire looked at Adrian. Ask one question before you decide who I am. You have had several chances to explain. No, I have had several chances to obey. A guest near the stage whispered, Just take her out. Sophie heard it. Her mouth tightened. Graham returned to the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a minor personnel matter. Claire faced him. Then why are you afraid of my name? The room moved. Marissa moved first. Take her. An officer touched Claire's shoulder. Her badge snagged on his sleeve and tore free. Metal struck marble. The badge spun beneath the chandeliers, circling once, twice, its faint ticking louder than the cameras. Claire did not bend for it. She watched Adrian. Before you throw me out, she said, read it. The badge slowed between his shoes. Sophie's phone remained lowered. Adrian looked down, and color left his face. The room was glass on 3 sides. Claire sat beneath a fluorescent strip that buzzed every few seconds. Beyond the wall, waiters carried desserts. Forks touched china. Officer Dana Wells arrived at 8:21 p.m. She was 38, compact, rain darkening her uniform shoulders. Who reported the theft? Graham raised one hand. I did. What was taken? A financial access card. Dana looked at Claire. Was it found on her? Marissa answered. Not yet. Was she searched? Her bag was inspected earlier. Before the alleged theft? Yes. Dana opened her notebook. Then that proves nothing. Graham placed a form on the table. We can avoid wasting everyone's time. Claire read the heading. Acknowledgement of unauthorized access. I did not enter the study. You were in the corridor, Graham said, to serve your table. Sign that you crossed a restricted threshold. We decline to file a complaint, and you leave tonight. Donna touched the page. This says she admits intent. Legal phrasing. Then legal can wait outside. Marissa set another paper beside it. Termination. Effective immediately. You are no longer assigned to Alder House. Through the glass, Louise saw her, then turned to a stack of plates. Tessa was gone. If I don't sign? Claire asked. Graham adjusted his cufflink. Officer Wells determines whether probable cause exists. Dana closed her notebook. At present, it does not. Then why am I locked in here? For guest safety, Marissa said. Donna looked at the key in Marissa's hand. Unlock the door. Graham leaned toward Claire. Cedar and old paper clung to his jacket. Your father mistook stubbornness for principle. It cost him everything. Claire's fingers curled beneath the table. What did it cost you? His smile remained, but his hand left the cufflink. Sign. No? He left both forms. Give her 10 minutes. When they walked out, Dana remained. I'll check the study and speak to witnesses. Don't sign anything. Check the guard's incident folder. Why? My envelope was put under it. What was inside? Proof that someone in that ballroom has lied for 22 years. Dinah unlocked the door, but did not open it. I'll be back. The latch clicked again after she left. Claire took out her phone. Noah had called twice. Beneath his name waited an audio file dated February 14th, 2023. Dad, last message. She pressed play. Static. A shallow breath. Then Samuel Mercer's voice, thinner than she remembered. Claire, don't spend your life asking powerful people to admit what they did. Keep the records. Keep your brother close. And if the truth costs you your whole future. A cough cut through the message. The waveform froze on the screen, while beyond the glass, a server poured coffee for Adrian Vale. Samuel's voice returned. Make sure it buys someone else one. Claire opened the hidden lining of her folder. A second equity schedule slid into her palm, soft from years of unfolding. The waste bin stood beneath the table. She folded the paper once, then again. Her hand hovered over the bin as the ballroom lights dimmed. A shadow stopped outside the glass. Sophie Vale pressed Claire's fallen badge against the window and pointed toward the west corridor. Sophie was still pointing toward the west corridor when the security room door opened. Adrian entered without Graham. Claire's badge lay in his palm. Officer Wells has paused everything, he said. No one is leaving. Claire folded the equity schedule into the folder lining. You should have paused before ordering security to remove me. His eyes found Samuel's waveform on her phone. Your father was Samuel Mercer. You read the name. I need to hear you say it. Samuel Mercer. He died 2 years ago. He was 58. Adrian tightened his grip on the badge. "Bring me the founder's photograph." Ethan appeared, carrying the framed display. Graham followed. "This is becoming theater," Graham said. Adrian ignored him. "Open the frame." "The exhibit is sealed," Ethan replied. "Open it." Ethan laid it face down on the desk. Metal clips scraped against glass. Claire smelled dust, old cardboard, and cooling coffee beyond the wall. Graham reached for the frame. Dana Wells stepped between them. Ethan lifted the backing. On the reverse, beneath brittle tape, blue ink crossed the paper. "Samuel, when I get back, we fix this. I won't forget. Adrian." Adrian's thumbnail caught on a faded blot beside the final words. He did not move it. "Do you remember writing that?" Claire asked. "I was 25. That wasn't my question." A spoon fell in the ballroom. The sound passed through the glass. "Yes." Claire saw her father at their kitchen table, shoulders narrowed by illness, sorting certified mail receipts. He had kept Adrian's magazine covers face down beneath the stack. "He sent you 17 letters." Adrian looked up. "I never received them." January 2006, 3 in 2008. 1 after Noah lost his scholarship. 6 when Dad's health failed. The last went out 11 days before he died. Graham exhaled. "Unverified claims are not evidence." Claire opened the worn folder and placed 17 postal receipts on the desk, one by one. Adrian touched the first. "Why didn't he call me?" "He did. Your office said he wasn't on the approved contact list. I would have taken the call." "Would you?" Sophie lowered her eyes. Adrian turned to Ethan. "Search my correspondence archive. Samuel Mercer. Claire Mercer. Every spelling." "That archive contains privileged material," Graham said. "Then legal can watch. You're reacting to handwriting on an old photograph." "I'm reacting to my handwriting." Dana picked up the frame. "This stays with me." Graham's jaw tightened. "You cannot seize company property." "I have a disputed document and a witness saying evidence was moved." Claire looked toward the corridor. "Where is Victor?" Ethan checked his phone. "His badge was used at the executive elevator 2 minutes ago." Sophie held out Claire's badge. "You dropped this." Claire took it, but Sophie kept her fingers on the edge. "I'm sorry I filmed you." "You stopped." "Too late." "Not yet." Adrian still stared at the receipts. Claire slid the last one toward him. Across its front, in Samuel's careful handwriting, were 5 words. "Please let Adrian see this." The executive elevator chimed. Its doors opened. Victor was gone, and the black incident folder lay alone on the floor. At 8:46 p.m., Ethan opened the CEO archive inside the security room. "Search every variation," Adrian said. Ethan typed Mercer. The laptop fan whined. 1 result appeared, then 3, then 17. Each line carried the same label. Blocked by executive filter. Rain tapped the window. Beyond the glass, plates returned to tables. Open the first. A routing rule filled the screen. Sender terms: Samuel Mercer, Claire Mercer, Noah Mercer. Destination: Restricted Executive Review. Authorized by G. Pike. Adrian read the date twice. 2006. "The newest renewal was 18 months ago," Ethan said. Dana Wells stood between Graham and the hall. "Routine spam control," Graham said. "Samuel threatened litigation." "A sick man asking you to read a contract was not spam," Claire replied. Adrian opened the final message. "Please let Adrian see this." 4 lines followed, with a hospital address. His chair struck the wall. A knock sounded on the glass. Tessa stood outside with Luis and Ruth, her phone in both hands. "I recorded what happened," she said. The video played. In the coffee pot's reflection, Victor removed the yellowed envelope from Claire's order pad and passed it beneath the guard's folder. Then Graham's recorded voice said, "Treat it as recovered company property." "It proves the envelope was hers before anyone called it stolen," Dana said. Ruth stepped forward. "I gave it to Claire. Martin Keene preserved it after Samuel was forced out. I typed the agreement." "You recognize the seal?" Dana asked. "And the initials." Adrian turned to the guard. "Where is it?" "Mr. Hale took the folder at the elevator." Dana raised her radio. "Hold all exits. Locate Victor Hale." Claire left the 17 blocked lines visible. Adrian faced her. "You are free to go. No complaint will be filed, and the termination is withdrawn." Claire put on her coat. "I owe you an apology," he said. "I saw a disruption instead of a person." "Not here." "What?" "You accused me under chandeliers, in front of cameras. You don't get to repair it in a locked room." Graham scoffed. "This event has suffered enough." "The event is still eating dessert." Claire turned back to Adrian. "Luis stayed quiet because his insurance depends on this job. Tessa risked hers to record your executives. Your daughter lowered her phone before you lowered your voice. They all heard you order me removed." Sophie waited near the stage with Claire's badge. "What do you want me to say?" "The truth you know now." "And the documents?" "An independent examiner gets them. Not your board. Not your counsel." Ruth nodded. Adrian closed the laptop. "Ethan, preserve the archive and copy the logs. Officer Wells, secure the photograph and recordings. Graham, surrender your badge." Graham touched his cufflink. "You are making a catastrophic decision." "No, I made that decision when I did not listen." He opened the glass door. Warm air entered with the scent of coffee and extinguished candles. Conversations died as Adrian walked toward the stage. Sophie crossed the floor and placed the fallen badge in Claire's hand. At the microphone, Adrian looked back and waited for her to enter. At 8:53 p.m., Adrian reached the microphone and waited until the last fork stopped. "The woman detained tonight committed no proven offense," he said. "I ordered her removed before the facts were checked. That decision was mine." Claire stood behind him with the worn folder against her ribs. Graham rose from table 1. "Adrian, this was a procedural misunderstanding." "No," Adrian said. "I acted on incomplete information." Claire approached the lectern. The stage lights warmed her face. Her fingertips stayed cold. She unclipped the metal badge and placed it beside the microphone. Claire Mercer. Then she opened the folder. "I was introduced as a temporary server. My profession is forensic accounting. I trace concealed ownership transfers." Pens appeared where phones had been. Meena Patel, 36, rose from the press table in a burgundy jacket. "What transfers are you alleging?" Graham turned. "This is not a press conference." "Then stop speaking into microphones." Claire opened 3 copied ledgers. On June 14, 2004, 12% of founder equity assigned to Samuel Mercer was moved into a holding entity. On August 2nd, it transferred the shares to Pike Strategic Holdings for $1. Graham's chair scraped the floor. "Those documents are not authenticated." "Correct. I am not asking this room for a verdict." She placed another page under the lamp. On September 19th, payments began to a firm with no employees and the same address as Mr. Pike's private counsel. They continued for 11 years. Mina's pen moved. Total? $4.8 million. Guests stopped watching her apron and followed her finger down the figures. Graham approached the stage. Samuel Mercer signed a separation agreement. Claire turned a page. The signature page references Exhibit C. It is absent from the company copy, but present in my father's. It states the transfer is void if independent valuation was withheld. Adrian leaned closer. Was it? The valuation is dated 3 days after his signature. Graham reached for the folder. Dana Wells stepped between him and the lectern. Do not touch the evidence. This is corporate property. Ruth called from the aisle. No, it is the copy you failed to destroy. The room stilled. Claire laid her father's letter beside the ledgers. He wrote 17 times. Those letters were filtered before they reached Mr. Vale. Tonight, an envelope with supporting documents was removed from my apron and passed to security. Tessa raised her phone. I recorded that. Mina looked at Adrian. Will you authorize an independent investigation? Adrian's hand rested beside Claire's badge. Yes. Graham gave a dry laugh. You will destroy this company to satisfy an accusation. Claire closed the folder halfway. No, the company was endangered when records mattered more than people. Adrian faced the ballroom. All relevant systems will be preserved tonight. Mr. Pike is suspended pending review. Nobody applauded. Then Luis placed his folded towel on a service cart and stood straighter. Claire looked at the badge. She did not put it back on. At the rear doors, 2 compliance officers entered with evidence boxes. Graham's hand left his silver cufflink. At 9:30 the next morning, rain blurred the boardroom windows. Retired Judge Helen Carver, 67, sat at the head of the table and aligned 3 pencils. This is an independent hearing. Every claim requires a document, witness, or recording. Graham Pike sat opposite Claire. His silver cufflinks were gone. The first payment left Mercer Equity Reserve on June 18, 2004. It passed through a dormant firm into Pike Strategic Holdings. An inference, an attorney said. Claire slid over a bank trace. Account numbers, timestamps, initials. Helen studied it. Continue. Claire mapped 11 years of transfers, fees to empty companies, retainers to firms without employees, valuation costs paid after Samuel's exit. Adrian sat behind independent counsel. Did you know about these entities? Helen asked. No. Did you benefit? Yes. Cold air moved over the table. Ruth rose with a document box. I certified this copy in 2003, she said. Samuel Mercer held 12%. Any transfer without independent valuation was void. Graham's attorney stood. Ms. Delaney left years ago. Sit down, Helen said. Ruth placed the agreement beside Claire's ledger. Mr. Pike ordered me to replace the archive index. I obeyed. I told myself it could be corrected later. Graham looked at her. You were administrative staff. I typed every version. Tessa connected her phone to the wall screen. The video showed Victor passing the stolen envelope to security. Why record? Helen asked. I thought they'd say I imagined it. The image froze on Victor's hand beneath the incident folder. Mr. Hale surrendered the envelope at 7:10 this morning. He is cooperating. Under pressure, Graham said. Pressure is relevant, Helen replied. Now the audio. An investigator set a scratched recorder on the table. Ruth covered her mouth. That was Martin's. The investigator pressed play. A click. Then only the steady hum of ventilation filled the room. Martin Keene's voice emerged. Statement dated March 3, 2019. I served as corporate counsel to Vale Bridge. In July 2004, Graham Pike ordered Samuel Mercer's separation papers prepared while Adrian Vale was overseas. Paper rustled. Mr. Pike threatened to report Samuel for misappropriating funds unless he surrendered his shares. The allegation was false. Samuel signed because Graham said proceedings would freeze his home and leave his children without support. Claire pressed her thumb into her father's letter. Martin coughed. I did not inform Adrian. I told myself I was protecting the company. I was protecting my position. The recorder clicked off. The ventilation continued. Adrian tried to unfasten his collar button. His fingers missed twice. Graham leaned back. A dead man cannot be cross-examined. Helen looked at him. Neither can Samuel Mercer. She placed the agreement, bank trace, video transcript, and sealed envelope in one row. Did you threaten him? No. Did you direct the mail filter? For legal containment. Did you order Mr. Hale to remove the envelope? Graham glanced at the closed door. It opened before he answered. Victor entered beside Dana, carrying a signed statement and Samuel Mercer's original agreement in both hands. Victor set the original agreement before Judge Carver. Mr. Pike told me the envelope contained stolen company property, he said. Then he told me to make sure no one opened it, Graham's attorney whispered to him. Graham did not answer. Helen read Victor's statement and closed the folder. The evidence supports suspension for fraud, obstruction, and witness pressure. A security officer approached Graham. Your chairman's pass, sir. For the first time, Graham did not reach for his cufflinks. He removed the badge and placed it on the table. The plastic struck wood with a small, empty sound. You built this company with me, he told Adrian. Samuel built it too. Graham looked at Claire. Now she wants to own your guilt. No, Claire said. I want the record corrected. The officer opened the door. Graham walked out. At noon, Marissa entered alone. Donna played the storage room footage. Marissa opened Claire's bag, unfolded the rent notice, and threatened Luis's insurance hours. Helen paused the video. Did you believe a guest card was inside that bag? Marissa's lips parted. Ms. Cole? No. Did you have grounds to detain her? No. Why continue? Marissa stared at Claire pinned against the metal shelf. Mr. Pike had recommended me for vice president. I thought refusing him would end my career. Luis sat near the wall without looking at her. I told myself procedure was procedure, Marissa said. But I knew whose procedure it was. Claire slid the termination notice across the table. You used my rent against me. I did. You used his wife's health coverage against him. Marissa's hands shook. I did. Luis lifted his eyes. You knew her surgery is in January. Marissa nodded once. No one offered her relief. That afternoon, an accountant projected a chart. Samuel's diverted 12% had multiplied through acquisitions, dividends, and stock conversions. Adrian read the total. 41% of my current net worth traces to that block? Through reinvestment, the accountant said. Adrian removed his watch and set it beside the report, as if its weight had changed. He turned to Claire. I can authorize an immediate payment today. Market value, interest, and damages. Into a private settlement? Yes. With confidentiality? His counsel answered. Standard terms. Claire closed the folder. My father was erased in public. I was accused in public. 17 letters disappeared inside your private system. Adrian looked at the figure again. Name your amount. This is not about making me quiet at a higher price. What do you want? A public agreement, independent oversight, restitution for employees harmed by the same structure, protection for people who report misconduct, no clause that lets this company call truth a disruption. His counsel leaned forward. That could expose Valebridge to years of claims. It should. Adrian looked through the glass wall at workers removing Graham's nameplate from the chairman's office. How long do I have? Claire took her father's letter. Until you decide whether you are paying a debt or buying silence. Outside, the screws came free, and the metal nameplate dropped into a cardboard box. At 10:15 the next morning, Claire sat across from Adrian at a conference table where executives and service workers had identical chairs. The agreement lay between them. "The family share is restored at present value," Adrian's counsel said. Claire did not touch the pen. "And the fund?" "20 million to begin," Adrian said. "Independent trustees. Former employees may submit claims without company counsel. Who appoints them? One by the board, one by the Mercer family, one by Judge Carver." "The reporting channel?" Ethan answered. "External and anonymous. Nothing routes through executive offices." "Contractors and temporary staff?" "Yes." Louise sat 2 seats away, hands folded over a napkin. Tessa's phone lay face down. Claire turned to workplace cooperation. "This still permits compelled statements." "Only during investigations," the attorney said. "That is how you put a confession in front of me while I was locked behind glass." Adrian read the clause. "Remove it. We need a fact-finding mechanism." "You need consent," Claire said. "No employee or contractor signs an admission without counsel, a representative, or 24 hours to review it." Adrian drew a line through the paragraph. "Write that." "You will enter restorative accountability for 6 months," Adrian told her. "You will meet affected staff, document the pressure you pass downward, and complete supervised policy work. No management authority." Luis turned his cup so the handle faced her. "This is not forgiveness," he said. "I know. It is work. I know that too." Adrian removed a compensation letter. "My bonus for this year and the next 2 will fund claims." His counsel stiffened. "That was not required." "No, it was available." He faced Luis and Tessa. "The ethics committee will include 1 permanent service employee and 1 contractor or trainee." "You mean us? If you accept?" "Do we get votes?" "Full votes." "And protection from scheduling retaliation?" Claire asked. "Written protection." Tessa turned over her phone. No red recording dot. "Then yes." Luis took longer. "My wife's surgery is in January." "Your coverage is guaranteed," Adrian said. Luis looked at Claire. "Then I'll serve." The attorney placed the signature page before her. 1 paragraph described the restored equity as a voluntary gift from Valebridge. Claire uncapped the pen, crossed out 1 word, and wrote another. Not gift. Restitution. She slid the page to Adrian. "A gift belongs to the giver," she said. "This never did." Adrian initialed the change. Only then did Claire sign. Adrian signed beneath her. No cameras flashed. No one applauded. Judge Carver collected the copies. "Effective immediately." Marissa rose. "Claire, I am sorry." "I heard you." Beyond the glass wall, workers carried a new panel toward the lobby. 2 blank spaces had been cut into the metal. "The founder's wall will be corrected," Adrian said. "Spell his name right." That evening, Luis received written confirmation of his insurance. Tessa received a committee badge, and the first anonymous report entered the new system before the office lights went dark. It concerned 17 letters, and a second archive no one had searched yet. 6 months later, light crossed the Valebridge lobby, where the old founder's display had hidden a name. Employees and former contractors stood beneath a bronze wall. Adrian stood beside Claire while a technician removed the covering. Samuel Mercer, co-founder. Adrian Vale, co-founder. Graham Pike's name was gone. The independent report had confirmed the fraudulent transfer, blocked letters, and pressure on witnesses. Graham had resigned and faced civil proceedings. Victor accepted a reduced role after cooperating. Marissa no longer supervised anyone. Each Tuesday, she met workers harmed by her policies and helped rewrite them. Luis stood in front, wearing his ethics committee badge. His wife's surgery had gone well. Tessa, now a compliance trainee, held no phone. Adrian approached the microphone. This wall was wrong for 22 years. Correcting it does not return those years. He stepped aside. Claire touched the first letter of her father's name, then looked toward Ruth. "You typed it correctly the first time," Claire said. Ruth pressed a handkerchief beneath her glasses. This time, they left it there. Applause began. Claire heard Luis clap once before the room joined him. Valebridge had prepared a top-floor office for Claire as director of the Independent Restitution Fund. She refused it. Her office was beside the staff elevators, with a door that stayed open. Temporary workers entered without approval, and reports went to outside trustees. Posted rules barred compelled confessions, retaliation through schedules or benefits, and rushed signatures. At noon, Tessa brought the first public report. 112 claims reviewed, she said. 37 resolved, 9 referred outside. Any blocked by an executive filter? None. Ethan tests the route every Friday. Tessa glanced at the open door. Do you regret refusing upstairs? Claire looked along the corridor, where 3 workers waited in the same row. No. That evening, Adrian carried a gray archive box into the Mercer apartment. Noah opened the door, but did not offer his hand. They found the originals, Adrian said. Inside were 17 envelopes, still sealed, each stamped by the office that had refused it. Noah lifted the last one and traced their father's handwriting. You built a system where you didn't have to know. Adrian accepted the words. Claire set 4 plates on the kitchen table. The room smelled of chicken and strong coffee. She turned each cup handle outward, as Luis had taught her. 1 chair remained empty. Adrian placed the old founder's photograph before it. On the back, his faded promise sat beside the ink blot. I won't forget. I let other people decide what reached me, he said. Noah placed the unopened letters beside the photograph. Justice didn't bring him back. No, Adrian said. It didn't. They ate without trying to repair the silence. Rain touched the window, lighter than on the night at Alder House. Later, Claire returned alone. In the bronze between Samuel's restored name and Adrian's, she saw the reflection of the family table through the glass doors. 3 people were seated. 1 chair was empty. Claire pinned her old waitress badge inside the open door of the fund office, where anyone entering could read her name before asking her title. The wall held both names now. The chair held the rest. Have you ever watched someone be dismissed because of their job, clothing, income, or lack of status, only for the truth to emerge later? Share what happened in the comments, especially if one person's quiet decision to speak changed the outcome. Send this story to someone who believes dignity should never depend on a title, and that accountability means repairing the system, not only removing one wrongdoer. Subscribe for more stories about justice, quiet resilience, buried truths, and the people who create lasting change without demanding applause. And before you judge the next person standing behind a counter, carrying a tray, or waiting outside an office, take a moment to learn their name. Sometimes listening early is the one act that cannot be replaced later.